What's up, guys? This is JZNES back with another review, and this time we're doing Dragon Quest XI on the Switch here. As you can see, I got the music going. I've got all my games here, not all of them. I mean, I've got all like the main series games here, for the most part. And I think that that is cool, and I love this series. This is my favorite RPG series outside of like I don't know, Persona or something. I probably like this one better. It's more consistent than Persona. This series is like the most consistent RPG series of all time. And it's just like such a great series. I wholly fucking recommend it because it's like I have been I was raised on this series. Not that my parents like gave me it or anything. Technically, my mom gave me the first one. Actually, let's so the and it even still has the little video games etc. Sticker on there for we got this for $20 apparently. And this is my original box from back in the day, and it's in pretty decent shape. So I got this for $20. The only RPG I'd played up until that point was Pokemon, and it's the funniest thing is like I was when I was getting it, I said to the guy, oh, he's like explaining it to me, and I'm like, oh, what kind of game is it? And he's like, oh, well, he's explaining it, and I'm like, oh, it's like Pokemon, and he's just like, yeah, okay. So you like, I'm one of those millennial idiots who only knows Pokemon, doesn't know the classics, but now I know the classics after that. That was my second RPG ever. It was really good. I got that even before I got Gold and Silver, so I mean it's a long time ago, it was crazy. In the 90s. So fucking love that shit. So yeah, I had that one, and then later on, actually, I got this is probably one of the this had to be like the second or third Dragon Quest game I got. I can't imagine what else I would have gotten before. So I had 1 and 2. That's technically 2 games I get. I guess I might have had no, I didn't have Dragon Quest 3. It's Dragon Warrior, but you know what I'm saying. But I had Dragon Warrior Monsters 2. I never got the first one, and thank God, because that game is just a pain in the ass. This game is vastly superior. This is my original box also, by the way. This is actually in really nice shape, this one is. But I love this game. This is a very hidden gem, especially in the Dragon Quest series. I'm sure people know about it that like Dragon Quest, but if you like Pokemon and you like Dragon Quest, this is like the coolest game ever. That's exactly what this is. You take all the monster elements from 5. By the way, 5 did that first before Pokemon. So, not that I knew that until later on. But, you know, yeah, like, seriously, it's so crazy. You gotta play this one if you're gonna play like any of the spin-offs. There's so many Dragon Quest spin-offs that just like are so great. And I know we got to talk about Dragon Quest XI here in a minute, but I just want to kind of talk about the series a little bit before we do that. So I have Dragon Quest VIII. I don't believe this is my original box. I have the original box over there somewhere with the thing that came on the outside of it. I got it when it was fairly new, I would like to say. So I mean, yeah. So I really this is like my favorite Dragon Quest game, and I still would say it's my favorite even after playing 11, which we'll get to that in a bit. But this is like the perfect Dragon Quest game. It has the right amount of story. The world is not too open, but it's not too linear either. You can it's the right amount of linearity. It's density um, over quantity, kind of thing, which I've been talking about for forever, especially in Zelda games and stuff. Um, yeah, it's just the perfect Dragon Quest game. This version isn't necessarily the perfect one unless you like play the emulator version, because then it'll look really good. But the 3DS version is actually pretty good. I like this version. I like playing it on my TV screen, so hopefully on my TV screen. Anyway, hopefully someday they'll make an HD version or like just port the 3DS version to Switch or something. But yeah, I love Dragon Quest 8. That was like the third one that I played in the series. Actually, I played 3 before I played 8. And the GBA. Unfortunately, I don't have the box for that, but I do have the game, but I don't have it right here. But I got it on NES as well. So, and I have a whole later on when I was collecting the Nintendo series. the whole Nintendo, everything. I got all of these. Here, let me take them out of their cases here. Maybe we can, like, get them for the thumbnail or something. Hold on. let's fan them out. There we go. Ooh. Something like that. I don't know. So yeah, I have all the NES series. I got these when I was playing or building my NES collection. So probably have some of those on videos of me talking about it or something. Okay, I think these were in this order. But yeah, I mean, you can tell I'm a huge fan of this series, and I really love it. And it's just like one of my favorite series. Metal Gear is probably my favorite series, but this is like a close second, for series. So yeah, and I mean, I have all the other ones. Of course, I've got 5. That's a really good one. 4, of course, sitting there. I played these more later on in like high school. I have 6. I bought that when it came out. It's worth a lot, but I don't really like it. It's pretty much the worst one. Other than maybe 9. 9 and 6 are like hand in hand. At least 9 I'd like to give a shot again because I never actually finished it. I think 6 is probably the more annoying one. 7 is really good. I want to get to this remake at some point. I played the PS1 version and it's really long and old, so hopefully this one fixes that. The 8, that version of it, and then 9, of course. And I have all of my cool slimes and whatnot. I got all a whole bunch of spin-off games and stuff I just don't want to bring out. I have this thing here is the original Dragon Quest XI, which I unboxed, and the only really difference is that the Switch version has more stuff, pretty sure the Tickington stuff isn't in the original. Maybe it is. I don't know. You tell me, comment below. But that was kind of worth it. I thought that was pretty cool how you go, spoilers for Tickington, I guess. It's like, you get to it like 10 hours into the game or something. So I don't think it's that much of a spoiler, but you go back into the old games and kind of try to solve some of the some puzzles and stuff within the old games, which I thought was pretty cool. So you even go back to some of the older dungeons and whatnot. I think I could turn this up just a bit. Okay. I'm just trying to get the music to an acceptable volume where it's not going to drown out my voice. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, okay, I was going to show that I have spin-off games like Dragon Quest Theater Rhythm, which I can't even play, but my friend was nice enough to get me. Maybe I'll be able to play that somehow someday. Maybe I can play it on old Gucci Gang, my hacked 3DS or whatever. I don't know. I don't know how that would work, but it's still cool that I have stuff like that. I love collecting the spin-off stuff and whatnot. Let me see. You got all these cool Dragon Quest things. Funny story about these. I bought myself these a while ago, and then I'm I was I had this thing that I wanted to send to the HVGN, or better known as Stop Skeletons from Fighting Now, but I always think of him as the HVGN, Derek Alexander, big inspiration for the channel. I sent him these along with Dakar 2, so you could do the link video for that or whatever, the link cable video. And you can now actually pretty much see at least the orange one he uses a lot, I'm pretty sure. I think that's the one he uses a lot, the She Slime. But he uses these in all the videos. It's crazy. Those are mine. Those are what I sent him. So that's just, it's so surreal that a part of my thing is now a part of the Stop Skeleton set. So, and then I have, of course, the King Slime. I've got this Draco Lord here, and he protects some of my NES games generally. I wanted to show this off. I thought this is so cool. This is the sprite of the hero from Dragon Quest 1 with the princess or whatever. So that's really cool. Yeah, I love Dragon Quest. That's the point here. I love Dragon Quest. I love the music of Dragon Quest. I'm wearing a slime hat, for fuck's sake. I have the metal one over there. You saw me wear that in the other video if you watched that video. So, yeah. And okay, so I had to play Dragon Quest XI at some point. I just really didn't have a really good time until like right now to sit here and invest in. Don't no, no, hey, don't drink that. Um, my cat's trying to get at my water. To sit here and invest in the invest myself in the world and in this, like hundreds of hours I could have sunk into the game or whatever. I think I only ended up sinking like 90 hours into it fully, and I did all the post game stuff and whatever. Except for like the only thing is I couldn't beat the final boss, which is like a gold version of the final boss of the game, the final like secret boss after you beat all the other bosses and whatever. I couldn't beat that. It was really tough. I watched a guy beat it online, and I really tried. Oh my god, cat. Okay, you coming here? You gonna sit with me this whole time? All right. I really tried to do that, but you have to have like extreme timing, and you have to like pep yourself up every turn. I made the grind to 99. I did that. I actually just used like the metal slime thing where you can summon out the metal slimes or whatever. But I thought that was pretty cool. So. But I still couldn't beat that guy, and I don't think I'm really going to. It doesn't really give you a lot. It gives you a few extra costumes and stuff. But anyway, so I pretty much completed this game. That's my point here. I didn't do all the quests either. I guess I didn't do that, but everything else other than that, I really sunk into all the main story content and all that I did. So, plus the post-game content, which I do want to talk about briefly. Spoilers later on that, and just kind of give my thoughts on the story for that post game, like right after the ending there. So I'll talk about that later, and I'll put a good spoiler tag in there before we start going into that. So for now, I just want to kind of talk about the game. So yeah, Dragon Quest XI. I mean, this game is like really good, but also there's a few things that just kind of don't really stack up to the to the other ones. Yeah, to like 8 and like I would say like 5 or something, or like the best two. This would be like a close third or fourth place. I don't know, maybe one of the other games. I'd have to really sit down and reevaluate everything, but I really did like the game a lot. I thought it was a pretty awesome game. My minor complaints, I would say, are with some of the story elements. I thought it was mostly well done overall, but I'll talk about that later when I get into the spoilers. I would say the gameplay is still, it's still consistent, and it's still Dragon Quest, which is awesome. I think that's a really good element of the game, is the gameplay. It's cool how now you're running around in like a big world, and you can see the enemies in the world. It's kind of like Dragon Quest. I guess Dragon Quest 9 had that, but I didn't really play a whole ton of Dragon Quest 9. Didn't really like that one that much. Dragon Quest 8, the remake, had that. Apparently the 7 remake has that as well. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see that in 7. But so yeah, I mean, there's enemies all over the overworld that you can see now. All the enemies and the animations on the enemies look really great. Like, I don't want to like harp on Game Freak or whatever, but man, if Square Enix could help them like make a Pokemon game or something, just help them do some of the animations or something, that'd be fucking great. Because I know Game Freak tried, and I know they had some of their own overworld sprite animations, and that's where they put a lot of their animation time into. But that's a whole nother topic for a whole different thing. But yeah, and of course, the 200 extra Pokemon that they were putting in the expansions that you guys can't seem to agree on. I mean, you wanted them and now you don't want them? Like, what the fuck? Fuck you people. Come on. Get over it. Like, they're giving you more Pokemon. Anyway, so Dragon Quest is basically the most consistent RPG series, and you always kind of know what you're going to get with Dragon Quest. So I think that's great. That's what I really like about Dragon Quest. I think it's, other than 6 and 9, all of the games are really good. So, I mean, that's what's really cool about the game. Dragon Quest XI kind of continues that trend, So you have the consistent gameplay. There's a new mode where you can kind of like run around in the battle. It doesn't really change anything. So it's just easier for me to do the turn-based battle, which I thought was good. I mean, it's still really good. The pep power system is kind of like a better version of the psych system from Dragon Quest VIII, where in Dragon Quest VIII you just kind of like psych up for like how many turns, and you could lose that, and it was kind of annoying, honestly. Now that I'm thinking about it, I really liked it, but I mean, uh, if I really want to be honest with myself, I think that the Dragon Quest XI psych system, or the pep system, or whatever, it's probably better because there's so many varieties of moves that you can use. You just kind of, the only thing is you have to wait like I don't know, maybe there was a number behind it, but like an arbitrary kind of amount of turns to kind of get pepped up again, which is, I don't know, maybe could be fixed. I know there was moves and items and stuff that could get you pepped up, which is cool, but they kind of, so I guess what I should explain is that that's like kind of like a super move. When you do your pepped up move, you and like certain individuals in your party get together and do a grand move, and there's even like story related ones and stuff, which is really cool. Um, yeah, and I mean, I just thought that was really cool. That's a lot better version of the psych up system. Um, I guess when I'm talking about combat, the items and stuff are really on point still. They had a lot of really cool items, a lot of really cool costumes for the characters. Your party, everyone in your party is like pretty useful. Even Sylvando, who like, I know everyone loves Sylvando or whatever, but like I didn't even like necessarily like care that much about Sylvando. I liked him, and I thought he was cool, and I liked his story and everything, but like he was probably like, out of the great cast of characters, he was the least good of the best all of the characters. I mean, they kind of screwed up Sarita there at the end, but whatever. I mean, I'll get into that later during the spoilers. So, I mean, I didn't mind. I mean, she kind of, they kind of bounced back on it. It's all good, but I don't know. It's just so my point was the equipment is pretty cool because to do with the gameplay, you have a skill tree. Everything's just like connected. It's so hard to talk about one thing without talking about the next thing. So first of all, there's a skill tree, and it's like way better than the point system because you can actually like, you actually kind of see what you're going towards. You can like go over things. Some things are kind of locked behind little walls where you have to like build your skills around it to see what that one is or whatever. But for the most part, it starts you off. It's kind of like the skill system where it says, all right, like for the hero, it's like swords, great swords. You got your luminary powers, and you have, what's the other one? I don't know, one more for the hero or whatever. So you build into what you want to build into. And the best part is you can go to a church at any time and take all of the points back on a single, like, one to, like, swords or whatever, and then put them into other things. So it's very customizable, and you can just kind of redo that a lot. And it's really cool. And all the powers that you get in there are cool and stuff, and it's just really interesting. It was a really good system. My point for this was something. I'm trying to think what it was now. I just keep going in all random directions. There's so much I want to talk about, but it's the skill system. So the skill system influences the items that you pick up. You can use certain items for certain people and stuff. Like, so let's just run down the party. For me, I did hero, swords. Eric did boomerangs. Let's see. Sylvando was next? It would be Serenica and Veronica. They're next, right? Let me think. Yeah, you meet them next. So I did just wands on them, like heavy ones and double wands or whatever. Although Serenica's the person from the past, whatever. Serena and Veronica, them together. They're twins, so it's kind of hard to sometimes. But anyway, so she has spears too, but I didn't use those because I used those on Jade. Savando, I just used whips because somebody had to use whips, right? Yeah, also Veronica can use whips, which would have been pretty cool, but it's better to pump them up with their wands or whatever, so their magic powers are better. Like Veronica at the end there, like shit, I had this the third boom spell, Boomel or whatever, and like on the final, on the really tough like secret boss or whatever at the very end, she was doing like like 700 some damage, and then there was this power that had like double casting, like it just sometimes randomly cast the spell again, so she'd be doing like 1400 damage sometimes. It was insane, like it was so crazy. I really like that too, that there's a skill in there that lets you double cast, and it just double casts sometimes, which is a really cool feature. There's stuff like that, dual wielding, just like all sorts of crazy stuff in this game for skills. And the skill, it's very well developed, the skill tree, so I thought that was really cool. Um, so yeah, and you can make, oh, the forge, the fun size forge. You can make your own stuff. It's like the alchemy pot, but God, it's like the alchemy pot, but better in a way, and also it's not worse in any ways really, but it's like better in a sense. The only worst thing is that you can't really make items in there, like healing items and stuff. But I mean, there's a bountiful like amount of those in the overworld as is. So, or like, you know, just in the around the game or whatever. That's what I meant. But yeah, so the Fun Size Forge is this new edition where you can actually make items. It's like the alchemy pot from 8, but it's like taken to a whole nother level where you have the materials, you put them into this forge, and you can fail pretty easily on it because it's like a mini game or whatever. But even if you fail, you get the item. No bullshit or whatever. You get the item and it's still fine. It'll say failure. It'll shame you for breaking the item or whatever, but you don't actually break it. It just kind of it says that it didn't turn out very well, which just means it's the base item, which is fine. A lot of times the base item is fine, but you can get +1, +2, +3 based on that, and you get these perfectionist pearls for every time you make it to this perfect spot on this. So it's like a forge mini game. So there's like 4 different spaces. You can bash at each of them, and you do a certain amount of progress towards like the points. It's all different, and there's different amounts of spaces on like different items and stuff, and they're arranged in different ways for certain things. Like accessories are just in like a 4 grid square, and then like a sword or something is obviously going to be in like a 3 square, or like a knife would probably be in like a 2 square. I don't know. I never really did the knives or whatever. But point is, they're all different, and it brings variety to this mini game or whatever. And then you get these flourishes, as they call them, which like so like one of them can bash 4 spaces, and one of them can bash 4 spaces randomly, and one of them like does a half strike in case you're like really close to that goal and you want to get the perfectionist, but you like you'll like hit it too far if you do the bash or something, and it's really cool. And you have like a certain amount of points in there that go towards making these things, which is really cool. So it's like as you level up, you get more and more points, and it makes it easier and easier. But the later game items are like impossible to like make better. So you can make items better, rework an item with your perfectionist pearls. I didn't even find this out until the end of the game. And I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I would have been spending the whole game using up all my perfectionist pearls. Whereas what I did was at the end of the game, I got to spend them on my best equipment to make that equipment a lot better. So that was pretty good. But yeah, so basically it's really cool because you can just make items, and you can make these like anywhere. There's a new addition, these campsites and stuff. I'll talk about those in a minute. There's 1,000 gajillion things I want to talk about. So yeah, equipment, you can you can build it, and certain equipment requires that you have old equipment, which is sort of like the alchemy pot at that point. Mostly it's just materials that you pick up around the world and stuff. But yeah, so it's really cool how they did that. There's like a little mini game in there and everything. I thought that was neat. It's really well developed, all of that. So that'll affect gameplay, and that affects the skill tree. It's all very well integrated, you know. You're spending your skills to be able to have more powers while you're equipped with your best gear, and you can change that at any time, which is cool. So like if all of a sudden at the end of the game you want to be a greatsword user because you found out, oh shit, I guess greatswords were the best swords, then you can switch it, and that's fine. You can do that. That's awesome, you know. I wasn't done talking about the characters. So Rab and Jade, I guess I had, let's see, Rab always had heavy ones. Jade always had spears because I really wanted her to focus on that. which ended up being really good because spears are really good for her. She has like fisticuffs. I think that's her only other thing. I don't think that would have turned out too hot. She's like the fighter character. Who else? I think that's it. To get everyone? I mean, I want to talk about the other character too, but I don't really want to talk about the other character because it's kind of a spoiler. So I'll talk about that character later. I don't even want to give a gender for that certain character because then it's like I'm spoiling something to begin with. But yeah, so that's pretty great. I'm trying to think. Did I forget anybody? Let me look at the box. That'll remind me. No, I think I got everyone. In terms of like who are my favorite characters, who did I like use in my main party? Originally it was like Hero, Eric, Veronica, and Serena, and then at a certain point later on, oh no, don't do that, no, you gotta get off, there you go. God, my cat was about to knock over my camera. Okay, so I had Veronica and Serena, and obviously that's like the original 4 people you get. Didn't really want to use Sylvando. Didn't really want to use Rab. I wanted to use Jade because I like Jade. I thought she was cool, you know? She's probably like, God, like my second favorite character if we're just talking character-wise. And even in the game, she's kind of useless. I mean, she's a good damage dealer, but other hero character, the last hero, let's call him. Most people in the groups and stuff just call, oh, I said him. Damn it! Well, just most people call that character 8, so... but also they call the main hero from Dragon Quest 8, so I don't know. That's weird. But anyway, Hero 8 also has healing, so that's pretty good. But, you know, my point is that Hero 8 is a little bit more well-rounded than Jade, so sometimes I would switch them out near the end of the game or later on or whenever you get Hero 8. I don't want to spoil that significantly either. So, but you know, I'm infamous for just dropping spoiler bombs in these videos. I didn't say anything too significant though. It's a man. All right, so it could be anybody. You don't know who it is. All right. But yeah, I loved the characters. I think they're great. I think my point to this was that the equipment is really cool. I'm just doing all of this so I could talk about costumes. The costumes in the game are really cool, and it adds such a variety and a spice to, like... The cool thing is, you don't have to have those items equipped like I think you had to in Dragon Quest 9. Maybe Dragon Quest 9 had costumes. All the other Dragon Quest games, I'm pretty sure you still had to have stuff equipped, and if anything changed a thing, like on the overworld or whatever, then it would be like... You'd have to have that thing equipped to see them. You get what I'm saying? Like, the costumes would have to be equipped to see the costumes in the main world. No. Dragon Quest 11 throws all that out the window. It does it like it should. You could just choose whatever costume as long as you still have the items. I'm pretty sure you have to have the items just to do it or whatever. I mean, obviously you have to have the items initially. But I'm just saying, once you have the items, you can switch over. Of course, I put... Jade, I used like all of her good costumes. I mean, I did bunny suit at first. As soon as I got that, there was like the wedding dress one, which is cool. And then like the like more like edgy version of that. That's the one I ended up with at the end, which is really cool. Actually, it's funny, since I've been talking about Hero 8 or whatever, it's funny, it's so funny. So if you're gonna like look up costumes in this game, just look at the first 7 characters and forget that there's an 8th character, because that's how I got spoiled for who the 8th character was. Like, I saw, oh no, it's him, and it's like, oh man, so it's like, I got spoiled myself, and I got spoiled on the feature that I might talk about in the spoiler section, but I don't really want to talk about before the spoiler section because I don't want to spoil that for somebody as well. So that's how I got spoiled for it. So just be careful when you're looking up stuff about the game. Most sites and stuff are pretty respectable. They'll say character 8 or they'll say stuff like that, but you know, just saying. Anyway, because I remained pretty spoiler free on the entire game. I feel like I must have heard a review or something because a lot of it started clicking in when the story was happening and stuff. But anyway, so whole thing is, yeah, the costumes are really great. I loved the main hero, his like armor costume. That's what I used for most of the game. I don't know. I never really did anything with Eric. I had his pirate costume at the end, but that was about it. Veronica, obviously, the cat suit costume was the best option. I didn't care for the other ones. I just stuck her in the cat suit. I'm like, this is the most adorable thing ever. She probably hates this right now, but I don't care because it's so cute. So I stuck her in that, and that was how she remained the whole game. Serena, let me think. I don't know, I had a dancer outfit for like a long time, and then there was the more wedding dress outfit, which I put her in, like later on that you get. And then, let me think. I don't know how to describe those ones. They're just like elegant. They look like wedding dresses. That's what they look like, you know? They're not wedding dresses, but that's what they look like, you know? I don't know. There's probably official terms for all of these. Obviously there is because they're in the game, but let's see. I don't know. I never really put any of the ones on Sylvando. Let's see. Who else is in the game? Oh, I talked about Jade. I liked Rab's costume from. Well, God, I don't know. It's gonna get hard to talk about the game without the story or whatever. But I liked Rab's costume from where he's from. Let's just put it that way. I think that's a pretty elegant way of putting it. So, but yeah, really liked that. God, so yeah, the gameplay and the equipment system and all of that is really good. I think that they integrated it well. What else? The battles are great. You get a bunch of classic Dragon Quest moves and stuff. There's even some new ones. I don't know when they introduced Blunt, but I feel like that should have just been in the game all along. It's like a debuff for attack. Like, I don't think they ever had that before. And there's not like a better version of Blunt where you do it to an entire group or anything, as far as I know. Maybe there is. Yeah, I never got it, but Rab was the only one I remember using Blunt, but basically it lowers their attack. I don't know if I said that or whatever, but that's what it does. So cool moves like that. It's just like there's cool new stuff like that in here, or maybe not so new. I don't know. I think it's cool how the progression of things. So like, I don't know. I guess I'll just. How about? Okay. How do I word this? Okay. So, let's talk about something else then, I guess. I think it's cool how there's like new riding companions or whatever. I think that's pretty cool. So like you get a horse and you get in the overworld sometimes there's sparkly little guys that you can like if you defeat the enemies then you can get them, and there's like one where you can fly and there's one where you can like you can ride there's this one part where you can ride one of the golem characters, and I just thought, oh man, this is so cool, and then you just like smash stuff, which is awesome. So I thought that was really cool. I would say each area, it's kind of like Dragon Quest VIII, where you go to each area and they kind of have their own little story thing and to introduce the area, which is cool. I mean, that's pretty much how all the Dragon Quest games sort of work, but I thought all of them were really well done. I mean, I'll get into specifics later, I guess, or whatever. But yeah, so that was cool. And then some mounts were cool. The overworld itself is kind of bare at times. Like, I don't know, it just didn't have the certain charm of 8. Like 8 felt like, okay, we put a lot of thought into this overworld and where things are and this and that. And this one just felt like, okay, It's just like a bigger version of the 8 overworld, and then it's like it's big. There's a lot of stuff to see, but it's just like I don't know. It just kind of gets you between places. It didn't feel as special as the areas in 8. I mean, they have all the standard areas. You know, they got like a snow area and like a forest area and a bunch of other stuff like that, which is pretty cool. But I don't know. It just didn't feel as like unique as the areas in something like Dragon Quest 8 or whatever. So there wasn't there really just wasn't a lot to see on like off the beaten path, I would say. Like most of the stuff you're gonna see in the story, and if you don't, then it's like really not that far out of the way. Um, so I don't know. There was some cool discoveries to see. Like at one point, so like earlier in the game, yeah, okay. So like earlier in the game, for instance, there's a snowy area where you go to. I mean, this isn't like that early in the game, but like there's a snow area that you go to where a dragon is frozen, right? And you see him, and you're like, oh shit. Well, like clearly he's gonna get out somehow, and you're gonna have to fight him later. And then it actually ends up like part of the kind of like part of the story. It's like a little brief moment in the story, but it's like you do have to fight him later. So I thought that was really cool, like seeing that kind of thing, like in the world, and then like later on it ended up mattering or whatever. I don't know, but I felt like um as long as we're talking about world design, I felt like the dungeons were pretty well designed. It kind of varied. It was like areas like the first forest and stuff were like they weren't that interesting, but then there was areas that were like actual dungeons, which were like pretty interesting. You know, there's one where there's like a lot of areas where you'll fall through the floor, and then you kind of see it through this like the luminary has this power to like touch these roots, and you'll like see the past or whatever, so you like kind of see where you can go and stuff. It's interesting. um but yeah, so like most of the like actual dungeons are really cool. It's just the ones that kind of feel like I don't know. Maybe it's just because like the first forest is like technically an overworld area or something. It's not really a dungeon. It's like a dungeon in an overworld sort of thing. So that's why it just didn't mix too well. But there were areas like I liked. Let's just say the Gold Castle area, and I liked Golden Castle Stromberg. God damn. No, I liked that one, and I liked like the crypt area, and like where you meet Serena and Veronica or whatever, and then um, you know, stuff like those dungeons were generally pretty well done. Um, the sort of version of um, Dragon Quest VIII's like floating castle thing. I mean, there's one of those in like most Dragon Quest games, but that area was pretty cool. I thought that was like a really well done dungeon. That's probably like the best designed dungeon. It's really long, but I mean, in terms of like dungeons, it had like the most stuff and it had puzzles and stuff. I thought it was pretty cool. So yeah, I mean overall, the dungeons were really well done. So that was pretty cool. Um, like the bosses aren't necessarily always very memorable, but they did unique things with bosses in this game. Like, um, I won't say which ones, but sometimes when you meet character like your party characters, they're bosses, which is like cool. Like that's really neat. Like you know, that's pretty cool. That's neat. So I don't know. There's like a I can't like name all the bosses because I'll just forget some. But there was like the giant spider boss I thought was pretty cool, and some of the other ones like that. Just the pacing in the game I thought was pretty good. You know, like you're consistently doing dungeons, fighting bosses, and getting through the overworld. There's always something happening in the story, and you're always kind of free to run around and do other stuff or whatever. So I thought that was cool. But so you have freedom, and at the same time, you don't. The boat ends up being like here. Let me. Which song is this? Oh, okay. This is, Oh, hey! Right as I was talking about the boat, the song comes on! How funny is that? Okay. So, the boat, I think that's the music for it. So the boat, it's not like it's disappointing, but in Dragon Quest VIII, when you get the boat, it's like, holy shit. In most Dragon Quest games, when you get the boat, it's like, holy shit, like, the whole world is open to me, for the most part. And they still lock some places out. This one is just like, okay, now I can go and see these little islands that are around. That's kind of cool, or whatever. And then it's like, all right, that's kind of it. Like, then I'm going to be able to go to the story locations when I can go to the story locations. But before that, there's not a whole lot to, like, really do with the boat. I just thought it was kind of like a kind of thing. So, but, yeah, I mean, what else? Before I start talking about the spoilers. I guess, like, the music... The music... Okay, so I know there's this whole controversy with the original music, right? Not the symphonic music. You've been listening to the symphonic music, of course. But I never got to play it that way, so I really do like the music. There's a lot of new tracks like this boat theme. The harp theme that Serena plays is just, like, so good. That's, like, one of the best pieces in the entire game. I will say, God... Well, I'll talk about that when I get to the spoilers. God damn it. I just don't want to spoil too much, like, for people, but I don't know what to classify as a spoiler and what to not classify as a spoiler. I mean, it's just so tough. But, yeah, so... I think, okay, so let's, I guess graphically the game looks pretty good. On the Switch, it's a little washed out, which is whatever. I mean, it doesn't look too terrible, but you could definitely tell when you look at it versus like a PS4 Pro or something. Like, it looks so much sharper, which is like, okay, I kind of, do I regret playing it on the Switch? No, because I get the extra content, but also it's like, okay, it doesn't look quite as sharp. You're going to get that. And I didn't play it handheld. I played it, fully on the TV, so you would think that the resolution, the graphical power of that would be better, but it's all right. It looks fine. It looks pretty good, actually. For the Switch, I'm actually really impressed about how they fit all of this onto a cartridge that can be played portably. So it's pretty insane that they actually did. But yeah. So I don't know. I thought overall, let me think. That's one other thing I was going to talk about. So, oh yeah, I mean, on the Switch you can play the whole thing in 2D. That's pretty cool. I didn't do that. The Tickington sections were in 2D, which, that was pretty cool. I thought. Um, hmm. What else? No, I don't know what else there is to talk about in terms of not spoilery material. So I mean, I guess I'll start heading towards that lightly. Um, I do kind of want to talk about the story for a moment here. So spoilers, I suppose. Uh, and I'll really emphasize spoilers when I get to the later stuff that I want to talk about. But I got a fresh rant about this story here. So my biggest problem with the story. So first of all, well, I'll start with like kind of non-spoilery story. Like, you're the Luminary, which is this guy who is meant to save the world from the Dark One. It's like every Dragon Quest game or whatever. But you're actually like a chosen hero from things. And it's like, okay, so I guess these are spoilers then. So like you see this opening cinematic or whatever, and you're like, okay, well you're escaping from your kingdom because they're all coming to get you or whatever. And it actually kind of sets up. These are spoilers now, by the way, because this is like way later in the game. But it kind of actually sets up for when you go back and you play that section yourself, and you kind of see the perspective of you get the context about that, and you get to see that everyone thought you were evil. You're the dark spawn, like they say at the like near the beginning of the game. As soon as you go to Heliodor Castle, you think, oh, okay, this is where the quest is gonna start and everything, and it's just gonna be like, I don't know, just like it's gonna be all nice and everything. But no, the king fucking is like, nah, fuck you, man. You're the dark spawn, and it's like. There's a whole reason for that. Obviously, these are spoilers, by the way. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. The king is, well, he's got Mortigan in him, the villain in him, or whatever. So, that's why that is. But, also, it's interesting how it kind of comes full circle when you see that the king himself and everyone had doubts before. But then, they pull one of their legendary moves. I should just do this linearly, but they pull one of their legendary moves where it's like, fucking, like, they're like, okay, hey, we're gonna grill you about your son, and they're like, we should kill your son. And I'm just like, oh shit, is this actually happening? They're like gonna kill the little baby or whatever, and then they're like, I gotcha, we're not gonna kill him, we had to test you though to see if we were gonna kill him. And okay, and so this is my main problem with the entire story, alright? They cannot let a death stick. What the fuck was with that shit? The whole game, start from the beginning, Cobblestone. As soon as I came back to Cobblestone after Heliodor, it's wrecked, the whole place is fucked up, and I'm like, oh man, this is so sad. Like, look at this. And the music starts, doo, doo, and it's like, oh, I'm so sad right now. I'm crying, and it's like, I'm not crying you or whatever, but it's like... And then, later on in the game, spoilers, there's so many spoilers here, you find out that these guys just got rounded up and taken to the castle. It's so implied that the whole town is wrecked. Why did they wreck the town if they could have just rounded everyone up? What's with wrecking the town? Why'd you do that? Like, okay, now you're just gonna round them all up and take them to the castle? Obviously... The original intention of that scene is that they're dead. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. I get to see this little town and everyone's dead now. And that's great, right? That's really potent. And I'm like, oh, good for you, Dragon Quest, for trying to do something darker or whatever. No, you just find out later that they're still alive. And I went through the whole, like, first half of the game or whatever thinking that, okay, Gemma and your mom character, who aren't really that much of characters, they're just dead. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, because you know what? You see them, you get kind of like mildly attached to them at first, and now they're dead. And it's like, oh, well, that's really impactful. And then they go back on it later, which is just like, come on, like, what? They don't even serve any purpose in this story. It doesn't make any sense. And then, okay, so you do that, and then, okay, so, let me think. So, that was one of them, and then the next one was kind of, well, okay, so you get to the halfway point, right? And then you're like, okay, I'm gonna go up to Yggdrasil or whatever. And I was still really thoroughly enjoying the story at this point. And, I mean, I wasn't like head over heels for it or anything. It was just kind of like, okay, go. We're trying to get to Yggdrasil. We got the route or whatever, the raindrop or rainbow. That's what it's called. And that was like the first quarter of the story, is trying to get this rainbow thing so that you can get to Yggdrasil and like. But you meet all the characters along the way. I thought, okay, so when you meet Jade and Rab, I thought that was really cool because it's like, I mean, Eric, okay, so let's just start in order. Eric, you meet Eric first in the cells. That kind of gives you an idea of his personality or whatever, and I thought that was really cool. Is this not the boat theme? Maybe it is. No, it's not. This is something else. Okay, so, yeah, so he's a great first party member, and you really form an attachment to him. Then you get to Veronica and Serena, and they're pretty good, you know, their whole thing is they're trying to help the Luminary. They find out you're the Luminary, so they come along with you, of course. Veronica, she has, you know, she's gotten shrunken or whatever, midgetized, or whatnot, and then so that's funny, and you know, like, it's just so funny because she's such an angry character. She's like a tsundere character or whatever. She's so angry all the time, and but she's like this tiny, short, kid-looking character, even though she's like as old as her sister, who's like way taller than her. So here's the thing: I didn't think Serena was that great of a character until later on. I just want to incept that here while I'm talking about the story in order. But Veronica I liked a lot, and then later on, Serena gets her good character arc, which I thought was awesome, and it actually made her one of my favorite characters until they fucked it all up. So, okay, Serena and Veronica, and then you find Sylvando, who I'm like, okay, he didn't really like offer his story up, and I'm just like, all right, I don't really care anyway. I mean, he's like a performer guy. That's pretty cool. I thought the section at the Gallipolis or whatever, I thought that was pretty cool. That was a cool area. Oh, I liked how Hendrik and his guys and Jasper even, like, I don't remember what point Jasper was at, but he was like at one of the points before where I think it was the port area. That's right after Gallipolis actually. So I'm still kind of talking about it in order. I forgot to mention that Hendrik and his guys from the Helidor Castle are following you. That's cool. I like that. It builds stakes or whatever. It's kind of like I don't know. There wasn't really like one like that in Dragon Quest VIII. I thought there might have been a section like that. I think there's a part like that in Dragon Quest VIII, right, where you're kind of like an outlaw or whatever. But well, there's a part. Well, I don't want to spoil that game either. So, but anyway. So, yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then, then you're searching for the rainbow the whole time, and then that's cool. That's okay. That's where you're originally at Gallipolis, so you can search for the rainbow. He tells you he doesn't have it. He sold it to the people in whatever that port town is called. I forget. That was a pretty cool place, though. I liked that a lot. That area. I should have talked about this before I started talking about spoilers. I thought the key system was pretty cool, gameplay wise. How they locked you out of certain areas, and then it was like Metroidvania-like. The only thing I didn't like about that was that you don't get the ultimate key until the very, very, very post-game. So, like, halfway into the post-game, you get the ultimate key, and I'm just like, this is dumb. Like, I should have gotten this during the story. Like, late in the story, but during the story. I thought at least after the halfway point, like, that would have been something. Let me think. So, the port town. Then you get the boats. Sylvando's boat's there. He just has a boat, I guess. That's fine. I mean, I don't mind that one of the characters would just have a boat. That kind of makes the most sense. It kind of sucks that you didn't get to go on another journey. I mean, I didn't want it to be a trope or anything, but wasn't it kind of a cool journey in 8 when you actually, like, go and find the boat and all that and have to resurrect it? I thought that was pretty cool. Sorry, I was distracted by the music. But anyway, yeah, so the boat, you get the boat, and then you can just, like, kind of go everywhere. I don't really remember exactly what happens after that. Well, then you start finding the orbs, right? Eric had one of the orbs, and then it's pretty cool, because then you're like, oh, shoot, the orbs, just like in Dragon Quest 3, and, like, I don't think they were in 2, but they were in 3 or whatever, and it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. It's a cool callback, cool reference or whatever. It ended up being pretty important because you have to get all of them to get into Yggdrasil or whatever, and it's like, okay, that's cool. And so you go to all the places. You go to, like, Sniffelheim and I don't even remember what the other orbs are at the moment, but you go to all the places and get the orbs. You go to the underwater place, which is cool, like the Mermaid City or whatever. Yeah. Oh, Honolulu. That was a pretty cool place. Little port town or whatever. It was really like a peaceful port town. I thought it was pretty cool. I'm really ahead of myself. I never talked about Hodo even. Hodo is pretty neat, that area. We don't have to talk about all the areas, but yeah, those are pretty cool. Anyway, my point is, so you get to Yggdrasil, right? Let's just go for that. Well, you meet Rab and Jade. That's what I was trying to get to. So you meet Rab and Jade in the arena town or whatever, Octagonia, And I thought that was really cool. That whole place is pretty cool. I like the guy, Vince, is that his name? I don't remember if that's his name or not, but I'm probably wrong. But I like how he was caring for the orphanage and all that. You know, with the you find out later on that he was just kind of the giant spider and all that, giving him the venom to be in the contest or whatever. And that was pretty cool. But Jade and Rab, I thought that was cool how they were in the thing, and then you finally get, well, you don't get the rainbow after that, right? It gets taken somewhere. They get it? Oh, Jade and Rab get it, and then you meet up with them. Oh, right, you meet up with them at Dundrasil. Yeah, okay. I just thought it was cool how they were in the tournament fighting alongside you. You had to fight them to get to the being the winner of the tournament. Did you get an orb for that? Actually, yeah, you get an orb for that as well. I forgot about that. Okay, so. Anyway, so you get the orb from that, and then you go on Dundrasil. That was a cool thing. It's like you finally find out that you're the Prince of Dundrasil and all that, and that Rab's your grandpa and stuff. And it's like, oh, this is cool. I like this. This is a good twist or whatever. Just to mention it now because I don't remember if I'll mention it later. Well, I don't know if I'll mention it later because. But I thought it was cool how later on you go back there and you actually get to explore a little bit of the area, like, you know, oh, well, I guess for the, I'll just talk about that later, I guess. The first time, it's pretty cool, because then, like, you don't know anything about Jade and Rab, they just kind of tell you to, like, come to this place, and you're just like, alright, well, I need the rainbow, so that's cool. But it's cool how you kind of figure out that she's the princess or whatever of Heliodor, and I'm like, alright, that's a pretty cool thing for her character, and, you know, she was actually, like, she was like an older sister character to the hero or whatever. And I know that's the whole thing, and it's like that kind of sucks that it doesn't suck. I don't know. I just thought it was cool how she was the princess and she kind of abandoned her town and stuff too after all of that. I guess she didn't really. They took her away once the king became Mordenkainen or whatever. Yeah. Okay. I guess that makes the most sense. But how did that work? I don't remember. Anyway, that's not important. The important part is that was a cool revelation and them telling you about all the backstory and all that. But what I was gonna say is later on when you go back there and you fight your father or whatever, that was pretty cool. It's like a Darth Vader moment. But, you know, you get to put his soul to rest and you see that he got killed by Morgan, the king, or, you know, really both, but that was pretty cool, I thought. Let's see. I think that's kind of it for the first half. So I thought it was really cool when you get to Yggdrasil finally. Well, I like the Snowfellheim thing too. I thought that was pretty good. The ice. First of all, I went there when I didn't have the key, and then I thought, okay, oh, this is falling. Okay, I went there when I didn't have the key, and then so it's pretty cool knowing, okay, hey, cool, I'll come back here later when I have the magic key, and then I got the magic key, and I came back, and I'm like, okay, cool, so I got a city here, and I like the whole witch storyline, and then she didn't end up being like that bad or whatever. But God, they just kept doing like a flip-flop on those characters, right? Is she the witch? I don't know. No, the queen's actually, the princess is actually the witch. Or, I don't know. It's ridiculous. But, so yeah, what, shit, I don't know. Once you get to Yggdrasil, it doesn't matter. Once you get to Yggdrasil, it's like, okay, so I had played Dragon Quest IX a little bit, so I knew that it was closely connected to Yggdrasil or whatever, like that was the whole thing. But, I thought that when you got there, it was going to be like something to do with that. It was going to be like a big kingdom or something, or there was going to be like these angel characters or whatever again, like in Dragon Quest IX. But no, it just turns out to not be it. It's another subversion of expectation or whatever. It just turns out to be like nothing. Like it's just, you get there, there's a sword in the heart of Yggdrasil that's like Lodo's sword, technically. Is it? I don't know. I still can't figure out the ending. Like, I don't understand the very very end ending. Like, I don't know how that all works. But it looks like Lodo's sword. That's what I always thought it was. I'm gonna say Lodo, by the way, a lot. I'm not gonna say Eardrick that much. Plus, aren't you Eardrick? I don't know. I don't know how that works. I don't understand. You get the title of Eardrick. Is this just a title? It's like Big Boss or something? Like, like with... Oh, I don't even know. It's so confusing. Anyway, so you get to Yggdrasil. I thought it was interesting how it wasn't really a thing. Like, they built it up this whole time like it was going to be this big thing, and it was just like, you walk up a tree branch. I was sure there was going to be a dungeon. There's no dungeon. You just walk in, you take the sword. Oh, okay, cool. And then, like, everything goes to hell, and it's just like, oh, fuck. It's like Jasper shows up, you know. I thought it was going to be Hendrik, because, you know, Hendrik and all that. Of course, that didn't end up being how that was. But, I thought for sure when Jasper showed up, it was going to be like Mordegon or something, but you fight him, and then Mordegon does show up, right? As the king, yeah, that's right. And then, that's kind of when you figure that part out, or whatever. But, oh, is this it? This is it. This is that song. Oh, I love this one. This is the harp song. This is Serena's harp song. Anyway, I don't know how loud that's gonna be, so I might wanna... Yeah. Okay, but, sorry. Anyway, so you get to Yggdrasil, and it's just... Everything goes to hell. You fail so hard, and I thought it was really interesting how in the second half of the game, I'm like, okay... Clearly, since your village died, this is what they're going for. They're going for a dark Dragon Quest game. So the whole world goes to hell, and I'm like, that's really interesting. That's really interesting. And all the party members are separated, and you, like, start as Sylvando again or whatever, and it's like, oh shit. And then you're, like, trying to bring smiles to everyone. I thought that was great. And it's like, it got a little old after a little while, but it was a really cool, you know, extension of his character, and I thought that was great. It's like he stops the guy from committing suicide or whatever. That was really, really cool. Very neat. Oh, you go to get the magic key. I forgot to talk about this. Where you get the magic key, that was really cool. How you go into the, like, world inside the painting or whatever. I thought that was a really cool, like, side quest sort of thing to get the key or whatnot. That was a really cool boss inside of there and everything too. That was a really neat area. But yeah, so you play Sylvando and you're trying to, like, bring smiles back to the world. I thought it was pretty cool. But it's like, you don't know what happened to the hero or any of the other characters. And I'm like, oh shit, like, what the fuck? Like, where is everyone? Like, you know, and then it was like Dragon Quest 4. And I'm like, holy shit, they're doing a Dragon Quest 4. This is so cool. And then, so you do Sylvando's chapter, which is like whatever, and then Jade's chapter is so good. It's like one of my favorite fucking parts of the entire game. It gave so much to Jade's character. They didn't really do a lot with Jade's character before that point. It made me love Jade as a character. You know, you're Jade, you're this badass, like, female warrior lady, and you're trying to, like, break out of... Well, you go to Octagonia, then you get captured by the, like, big sleazy monster dude or whatever. It ends up being a lot more innocent than it feels, which is like the whole game in a nutshell, which I'll get to in a second here. But like, initially it's like, holy shit, like, Jade is here and she's being like, wait, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the order they go in. I don't know, it doesn't really matter. Jade is there, and then so she's like, she gets taken by this big sleazy guy, and she's like in this prison with a bunch of other warrior ladies or warrior people and stuff. It's all the warrior people from before, which is really cool because you get to see them again and you get to interact with them again and stuff. But they've all lost hope, and it's like, oh shit, this is like, you know, this is dark, and the whole world is like lost hope, and this is great, you know, this is really emotional, really impactful and stuff. And I mean, it still is. Jade's story was probably the best version of that, I thought, because it was a really self-contained story, but like, it was very clear that it was like a sexual, like this guy was like, he was Jabba the Hutt basically, you know. He was gonna do all sorts of nasty things to Jade or whatever. He puts her in the bunny suit, which ends up being helpful. It ends up making her not like be able to die or something. I don't know what that was all about. Oh yeah, the blue bunny suit is one of the things that you get for beating like the super final boss or whatever. I don't know. Fuck it. Yeah, cool, whatever. But I thought that was really cool how they did that, and but yeah, Jade's story there was just so impactful, and I really resonated with it. I thought that was really great. And then she's the one who's like trying to inspire everyone else. You know, we have to have hope. We gotta. The world needs hope. You know, and like it was just so it was so good. It was so well done. And then she ends up beating him and getting out of there or whatever, right? Well, no, she doesn't actually, because later on, then you find her and she's like taken over or whatever. And I thought that was pretty crazy. That just makes me cringe thinking about what might have happened in the meantime. So my point was, very clearly it was a very sexual thing at first, like, you know, like this guy, and then they're like, and then he's like, oh, we're gonna do so many things, maybe we can even hold hands. And I'm just like, really? Like, you gotta like go back on your fucking I don't obviously I don't want it to be like a really fucking dark thing. It doesn't need to be that, but I just thought it was really cool that they were doing something like that with Dragon Quest. Like number 5, like I don't want to spoil 5 too much, but it's kind of similar, you know? You have a lot of shit that happens to you like that in that game, and I thought, oh wow, this is really cool. You know, it's really cool, like we're seeing the whole side effects of the hero failing and all that. And I'm like, this is great. And it's like, you get to see each character again. It's like, but they go and ruin it with little touches like that. You know, they kind of backpedal on their seriousness of the situation, which is kind of Dragon Quest as a whole. I don't think that was the most severe moment of that. Like, you know, the whole let's hold hands thing. I've never done that. You know, it felt like Scott Pilgrim at that point. I've never even held hands with a guy. I've never even kissed a guy. Hey, me neither. You know, like, it felt like that at that point. Like, come on. And I love Scott Pilgrim, but it's like, that's a different tone. That's a comedy, you know? And, you know, and Dragon Quest has to remain light because it's a T or whatever, but still, I just thought it was kind of interesting that they went with that route. It's a T, right? It's not some M shit. Yeah, I was going to say. This is the same rating. This game, with implied sexual violence and bullshit, and the world dying, and like, well, nobody ever really dies or whatever, we'll get to that, but with all this darkness and whatever, this is rated the same as Hat in Time. I still can't believe that. Anyway, so point is, that was a really cool side section of the story. I liked Rab's side story. I thought that was really cool, especially the parts where you get to see stuff in the past. I thought his training section was pretty cool, and that ends up setting up stuff for later, which is neat. You know, it was with the general theme of you have to have hope, and let's train to like go fight the Dark One. If we're all still alive, the other guys are still alive somewhere, you know. So, but yeah, it's just really interesting that like so you have like so Rab, they go from Sylvando, the character that I would assume most people cared about the least, even though every time I've seen it, everyone loves Sylvando or whatever. And then they go to like, you know, Jade and Rab and like characters that you kind of didn't know a whole lot about to give them a lot more story, which I thought was a great idea. And then you get to other characters. Did Eric have one? Eric? Oh yeah, Eric's was like a dungeon. That was pretty cool. I thought that was a really good one too. I didn't like how he lost his memory or whatever. I thought that was really forced. Like, it didn't need to happen that way. I thought it was interesting. It ended up working out all right. It was just one of those contrived kind of moments. Like, what? He's losing his memory? Why? He doesn't have to lose his memory. Like, it's kind of one of those moments. I don't know. That wasn't the best of them, but whatever. So yeah, Eric and his backstory and stuff. That was pretty cool. Yeah, well, I like how they kind of hint at his backstory there with like his sister and all that. I love, okay, I'll just say it now because I mean, I don't know if we'll get to it later. I probably will. I loved the whole section with the Golden Castle and everyone's gold and his sister and all that. I thought that was really cool. That was a really great backstory for Eric. I thought that was great. Sylvando's backstory when you go and drop off like his gang or whatever so you can go save the world with the hero. I think this is later on, actually, because we haven't even gotten to the hero yet, but I thought that was pretty good. I liked his father. I liked how his father was like accepting of him in his career, not to be a knight or whatever, but it's like, I loved how, well, I'll talk about that in a second here. So Jade, okay. Yeah, and then, okay, so I think after that, because you don't see Veronica and Serena until, like, way later on, and that was kind of disappointing to me, because I really wanted to get into their, like, backstory and character dynamic and all that. Like, I would have really liked a chapter about them. We end up getting that way later on, but, like, come on. So, yeah, so, but then you get to the Heroes section. Heroes actually alive. I mean, of course he is. I mean, the game's not over yet, so. I thought it was really cool how then you go back to Cobblestone. I liked how the Resistance was at Cobblestone or whatever, but here's where we get to it. Gemma and your mom are alive, and I'm like, what? They got taken to the castle? That's the whole thing? Like, come on! They cannot stick a death in this game. The only people who actually died in this game without anything, you know, spoilers, big spoilers or whatever. Oh, this fucking song. Yeah, it's so appropriate that this would be playing right now. I got so sick of this goddamn song because this is what played initially when you're in Cobblestone when it's all wrecked. And I'm like, that's really nice. This is a really sad song and whatever. This is a nice, tender moment, and then you realize that they're not dead later, and they're still playing the song. They play this song everywhere in the dark half of the game, like the second half where it's all in ruins or whatever, and I get it, but it's just like they way overuse it. They needed a few more variants of this song, man, I'm telling you. This is the only one that's like, oh my god, it just kind of got grating after a while. But, so you go back to Cobblestone, you find out they're not dead, you find out, you know, that, so Morrigan's not in the king anymore? Why did that happen? I don't remember. Yeah. Well, he like left the king because he got the sword or whatever, right? In the heart of Yggdrasil and he destroyed it. He doesn't need the king anymore, I guess. So the king's there. You realize the king's not that bad of a guy. It was Morrigan that was like taking him over or whatever. That's cool. I like that. I don't like that Gemma and the mom were alive. I think that's dumb. I think they should just stay dead. That would have been more impactful, but they have to have them there to be the heart of Cobblestone or whatever. I thought it would have been more impactful probably if they were still dead, though. I mean, it wouldn't have mattered anyway, which I'll talk about here at the post game. So, so I think at the second half of the game they should have just left him dead. I think that would have been more impactful. So that would have been impactful. That's like the first one where it's like, okay, nobody dies. That's whatever. Okay, fine. Great, you know. No big deal. I guess that's how we're going to play this game now. It just felt like a big cop-out that they were still alive or whatever. I just thought it would have been more impactful if they're dead. Then you find out, well, who's running the last bastion? Oh shit, it's the king. Oh shit, it's Hendrik. And then the Hendrik's like, he was there when the sword was taken, and then he realizes that the king was kind of duped or whatever. He was overtaken. Oh, this is the song, isn't it? This is it. Okay. Anyway, this is the one I got sick of, I think. Yeah, this is it. Okay. He realizes the king is overtaken, so, you know, you're like, oh shit, well, okay, cool. How's Hendrik? And by this point, I was already spoiled. So big, massive spoilers here. Hendrik is the 8th member of the party. And, I thought that was cool. I liked that. I liked Hendrik a lot. I thought, oh, surely I'm just going to not like him that much, and then I'm going to switch back to Jade. But I used Hendrik. They force you to use Hendrik for quite a while in the game, but I used Hendrik for quite a while, and I really liked him, and I thought he was a really good, gameplay-wise, a great character, and also story-wise, a good character. I was kind of waiting. I was just like, for like a few hours there, or like an hour or so, you know, when you're kind of teamed up with him. Oh, by the way, I thought the assault on Cobblestone like when this that was pretty cool when you go out and fight all the monsters and like save a bunch of people and stuff. I thought that was really neat. That was a cool like epic battle scene. Like that was neat. That's never happened anything as far as I know and like that in a Dragon Quest game before, outside of maybe like Heroes or something. But I thought that was really cool how they did that, and it was like, we're like the stubby rebellion kind. It's like we don't have that many people left, and we're trying to fight Mordegon's entire army or whatever. So I thought that was really cool. Um, you're teaming up with Hendrik. The thing is, they team you up with Hendrik to go out and find all the other characters or whatever. I'm pretty sure. Um, but it's like, so my thing was I just wanted him to apologize. Just be like, hey man, I'm sorry I was such a dick to you before, this and that, because the king and all that. But he didn't do that for like an hour or so after you're like with him, and but when he finally did it, then I'm like, all right, I can get on board with this character now. Now that he's apologized, that's all I really wanted out of him was an apology. I wanted him to stop being such a hard ass and apologize. And he pretty much pledges himself to you, which is like, all right, this is good. I'm okay with this now. I mean, obviously, he wants to go find the princess too. I mean, he was her bodyguard back in the day and stuff too. So it's like, that's fine. Great. He's a good character. He's well integrated into the party. I thought it was good. Hendrik, awesome. Like him. Really great. I don't remember what you do after that, but eventually you end up finding, well, Sylvando, I think, first, right? You don't find Eric until way later, so yeah, you'd find Sylvando first. There was some stuff there, and you go around and help people and stuff, and yeah, so then you go to the port town that I didn't talk about before, where Sylvando's father is, and like when you were there before, everyone was kind of like looking at him, or they like saw him when they were going out on the ship or whatever, and it's like, okay, well, not that port town, this a different port town, Porto Valo versus whatever the first one is, but Sylvando's father lives there, and then you find out that he like wanted Sylvando to be one of the knights. He knew he was going to train him to be a knight or whatever. And then Sylvando was like, well, no, I want to be like a performer, like not a clown, but like, he wants to be a jester character or whatever. And his father had to kind of deal with that. And then there's this like really nice moment where, oh, well, 6 fell, who cares? There's this really nice moment where, it's like, it's sorry, the music's distracted. See, there's a nice moment where you kind of think that maybe he was ostracized for a few different reasons, for how flamboyant it was, maybe him being gay. I don't know. I don't know. I would assume Sylvando is flamboyantly gay or something. I mean, that's the assumption, right? I would assume so. That's maybe just a stereotype, but this game kind of runs with those at some points. So, fuck it. I'm gonna take this off. It's really hot. So, God, my head is sweating. But anyway, you go to his father, and he's all like, what, you didn't like fulfill your goal to make the world smile or whatever? And he's like, well, not really, but I'm working on it. And he's like, okay, that's cool. As a knight, you gotta like do that. And Sylvando's all like, oh, you still think of me as a knight, father, and all this stuff. And it's a really nice moment there, So it gave a little more context and interest to Sylvando's character. And I thought that was pretty cool. It was a good scene. But anyway, after that, eventually you get Jade and Rab again. Do you get them at the same time? I don't really remember. No, you get Rab first, I think. No, you don't get Rab until later, right? You get Rab first? Yeah, you know what? I'm pretty sure you do go get Rab first. Yeah, because there's a place in the mountains. It's like the air temple, like from Avatar or something. You meet like the Avatar basically, and he teaches you a bunch of stuff, and then you find Rab, and he's got like a Buddha, like he's like really skinny, and he's like pose. He's like Monk Gyatso or something. Like you have to like go into the other world and like take him out of there and stuff, and that's really cool. But yeah, so I thought that was neat, and then you but after that, then you go to Octagonia. Then you find Jade. You found out that she's like been possessed this whole time by what's his face, the big guy, you know, fucking running Octagonia or whatever. You finally have to take him down. It was weird that you like had to do like casino mini games to progress in the story, but there is a machine that's rigged so that the slime adventure, like, you just have to spend enough time there to kind of progress. But it is just odd that they forced you to actually play the casino games to progress in the story. But yeah, once you finally save Jade, I mean, that's great, because I love Jade and she's like one of my favorite characters in the entire game. So I like how, also, I guess, while we're talking about characters, I like how they gave the hero backstory, and he wasn't just like some nobody, you know, like it kind of like in 5 and 8 and all the best ones where the hero has backstory. I mean, he wasn't necessarily very emotive. That was kind of a big thing. There was a moment, several moments, where I'm just like, just go and hug that person, man. Just do that. That would make the scene so much more impactful. He just kind of stands around. He's like a Pokemon protagonist or something. He just kind of stands around most of the time and doesn't really react to a lot of things. He reacts to some things, but I don't know. It just would have been more impactful to me if he actually like emoted a slight bit more. You can have a silent protagonist that emotes. I don't see why not, you know? So, but yeah. So you get like a kind of follow-up to Jade's story there, and it's kind of sad and depressing that she was there with that guy the whole time. Like, oh my god, terrible. But once you finally get out of there, then you get Eric, I guess? I don't know. You go back to Sniffleham and you do the Royal Library thing, right? Or was that in the first part of the game? I don't remember. Honestly, I don't know. You go back there eventually. You get Eric somewhere around there, and then you kind of find out his little backstory. No, that would have been the first half of the game. The second half has the golden part with his sister and all that, which I really liked. I thought their dynamic was really cool. Yeah, and that's part of what I didn't really like about the post game. I'll talk about in a second here. Okay, so yeah, that was cool. And then you kind of finally go back to Arborea to see Veronica and Serena, and you find out that Veronica sacrificed herself. I guess I've already said spoilers a million times now, but Veronica sacrificed herself in the final moments of you being on Yggdrasil or whatever. And I'm like, oh man, that's so cool. That's such a good thing. But I'm like, I'm already on to you guys. After last time, there's no way. There's no way they're going to let this stick. You kill Gemma. You kill fucking the mom character. You're not going to let this stick, Veronica dying. She's a main character. There's no way. And then there's a whole big thing about it, and Serena like cuts her hair, and it's like she like this whole thing where everyone's like putting a lock of their hair in this fire or something. I don't know if that's like a Japanese thing or something, but I don't know. It has to be Japanese because Dragon Quest is Japanese, you know, for the most part. She cuts off like a big part of her hair. It's like the Zuko moment or whatever, and you're like, holy shit, she's serious about this. That Veronica, you feel like Veronica's like really dead, and she is, and it's like, oh my god, this is crazy, man. They actually killed Veronica. They're gonna make this stick. I'm like, alright, this makes up for Gemma and the mom character. I mean, they should still be dead, whatever. Veronica dies, like a main character, and I'm like, this is really impactful. And when Serena like cuts her hair and throws it, and then it like burns up or whatever, I'm like, oh man, like this whole thing adds so much to her character. And then she acquires all of Veronica's like abilities, and I'm like, man, they really are killing off Veronica. Like, and I'm like sad because she was like one of my favorite characters prior to that point. But it just added so much to Serena for me because she was always just kind of an extension of Veronica before. She didn't really have kind of her own personality. But she takes on a lot of new personality from that, and she kind of has this loss of her twin sister, and I'm like, this is so good. This is such a good thing. I'm so invested in this, and I love this. And Serena is like the second best girl because, you know, Jade or whatever. But it really made me question. I'm like, man, I really like this Serena character, you know? Jade, Serena, it's like, who knows, man? So, but I thought that was really well done. And then, well, okay, so there's some parts, like I was talked about the father part. That was pretty cool. You do some soul searching in the past or whatever. That was pretty neat. And then, I don't remember how you, like, end up near the end or whatever. I'm just gonna kind of skip there because I don't really know what else to say. So you go and you fight. Well, okay, so you make the Sword of Light. That's like the next thing. There's like this Watcher thing or whatever. You've like did all this other stuff to bring the world kind of back to sort of a happiness place or whatever. Like, you know, there's still massive losses, but they're rebuilding. It's like Endgame, right? I guess it is really Endgame. Shit, they did this before Endgame, didn't they? I never even thought of that. It's like exactly like Endgame because they end up bringing everyone back or whatever. That's so fucking like Endgame. Maybe Endgame stole it from here, honestly. Dang, I never even thought of that. That's crazy. Okay, so I am gonna talk about the post game. So really big spoilers. Even if you didn't like, even if you made it to this point, I mean, these weren't like too big. I mean, these are pretty big spoilers, but you still could be surprised for the ending. So whatever. Just like turn back now or go to the end of the video to see my rating or whatever. So, eventually you get to Mordigan somehow. I don't remember. I think it's actually that castle area I was talking about earlier. It's a really good dungeon. Really well done. You fight Mordigan. I mean, you fight Jasper before Mordigan at some point. And, yeah. And then you fight Mordigan. And it's kind of over. There's a second form at some point. And I'm like, okay, well, this wasn't, like, super hard or anything. But this is, like, legitimately, like, a really fine ending. This would work as an ending, right? They didn't really like they didn't have like a wrap up party kind of thing, like an 8 or whatever, which is like, so I was kind of suspecting it was kind of a short ending, so I'm just like, alright, well, what's with that then, or whatever. So, lo and behold, spoilers. I'm gonna spoil the shit out of this, because I'm gonna really rant about this here in a second, because I don't like it. I like bits of this, but I don't like it as a whole. So, after you defeat Mordigan and after the credits roll or whatever, then you come back into the game. And you know, most people could have just skipped this because they wouldn't even have known they didn't beat the game because the credits already rolled. You come back to the game. They're having a Remembrance ceremony, which is kind of the post-game party. I'm like, okay, here we go. This is kind of the ending. Why is there more? Well, turns out, there's the Watcher Island has crashed or whatever, like one of the Watcher Islands. Pretty sure it's the main Watcher Island, where there's only one of them left or whatever. Oh, I forgot to talk about building the sword. Whatever, you build your own new sword based on like Erdwin. That's so annoying. Why can't they just call them something else? So I didn't think he was Erdrick the whole time. Man, is this almost? Oh shit, it is almost over. God, I've been talking a long time about Dragon Quest 11. So, yeah. But anyway, basically, the whole thing is, the post thing is like you're doing this remembrance, and then there's like, oh, let's go look around. You know, we're going to go on another adventure. And I'm like, cool, post-game stuff, right? You go and do this Watcher thing, and I'm like, okay, yeah. And then you go and do this thing, and kind of leads you to this wheel that I'm like, okay, now we're going to go to that tower that I discovered earlier that didn't really serve a purpose, this lost time tower thing. And this is actually going to tie into the title of the game, which it does. Like, the whole post-game is like why it's called, you know, Elusive Age or whatever. It's like, so it's just like, it's really odd that this is what they this is their pro skate. And then okay, so you go to this tower. Okay, great. You know, cool. We're gonna have another adventure. You go inside, and it's like you find this one of the oh god, what are they called? The people from the Tickington or whatever. It's one of the people from there, but it's like a really tall one. And you're like, oh shit, like what's this all about? And then she's like, oh, we're like the keepers of time or whatever. It's like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Time related, yeah, of course, you know. Okay, let me get this going with, and then she's like, hey man, like you can go back in time. What if you could like save everyone, right? Like from the past, like you know, they're like, well, the whole thing is like, well, we have to save Veronica or whatever. Like that's what Serena's saying, and it's like, yeah, cool. Get the Dragon Quest VIII soundtrack going here. We have to save Veronica or whatever, and it's like, okay, well, what about her sacrifice though? She sacrificed herself. It was such a nice thing, you know. Like I don't want Veronica dead, sure, but like she sacrificed herself, man, for like the greater good. I thought that was such a good thing for her character. She was so snotty the whole time, and she was so sarcastic. You know, but deep down she has a heart. You know, she sacrificed herself for us. I thought that was so cool. And then, oh hey, you know, I can send you back in time. If you want to erase this timeline, you can go back in time and save Veronica and save the other half of the people that died, that are the whole goddamn impact of the entire fucking story. And it's like, no, I think I'm good. I don't really want to do that. I don't have any purpose for doing that. You know, no. I want Veronica to stay dead because her sacrifice meant something. But no. What they wanted out of me in this post-game is for me to go back in time and just forget everything. Actually, halfway in the game back in time, right before you go into Yggdrasil, and just say, oh, none of this happened. And none of my characters are going to have their memories of any of this happening, of any of these dark times and all this. Except for the main hero, which I don't think he ever tells anybody else, which is really dumb, by the way. This, for me, is the worst part of the entire story. This is what, like, even makes me question whether or not, like, this is the kind of stuff that I hate about this story, is that it does stuff like this. I don't need to bring back Veronica. I don't need to bring back Gemma or the mom character either, or anybody else who died. I think they died for a reason. Let's have an emotional core to our story here. Veronica dying was the best thing that happened to the story. It was great. And I thought that was really well done. Oh no, let's just take that back. It's a big cop-out. It's a fucking giant cop-out. Even the characters are like, oh, we don't want to not exist anymore. Can he just not go in there? And I'm like, yeah, let's do that. Can I just do the other post-game content? No? Okay. Well, fine. I guess I can't do the other post-game content without doing this part. So then you end up accepting, and they're like, oh, we knew we couldn't stop you anyway. And it's like, I would have stopped. The game didn't make me have to continue. So you go in, you shatter the timeline that you were already in. Okay. You go back right before Yggdrasil. You know, you play out the same shit, like, parts of the first forest and, like, all the same cutscenes and stuff. I don't understand. Just take me back to the moment when Yggdrasil is falling, and let's do that. That's where the new content comes in. They didn't do that. They just make you replay, like, an hour of gameplay, or maybe just, like, 30 minutes or something. I don't remember how long that is. But it was a little odd that they made you do that. You lose, like, all your levels and your equipment and stuff. I mean, all your equipment comes with you. Even your bank score comes with you, which is cool. That's really nice. I'm glad that they did that. Otherwise, I would have lost all that money in the past timeline, which would have sucked. Because I actually did start using the bank. So yeah, so then you go up to Yggdrasil, and everything kind of changes, and then you kind of prevent that. You defeat Jasper, but like the hero knows that Mortigan is in the king, but he doesn't do anything about that, and you just kind of like have another boss battle with Mortigan that's like an easier version, and it's like, why? Why are we doing this, you know? Why are we doing this? We just fought Mortigan. Like, it wasn't that long ago. For me, it would have been like a few hours before that. I fought Mortigan, like the better version. And now you're going to make me fight him in a weakened state? Like, okay, great. I beat him. Cool, now what? And then you go back to the Watchers, and then they give everyone their stats back? And equipment and stuff? It's like, why, though? Like, why did we do that? That's so strange to me. So it was kind of like they came back, you know, all of my characters or whatever. I don't know. It felt really odd for the first few hours of that, and I try to constantly forget that that's what ended up happening, because the second half of the game gets a lot better. After that point, stuff starts picking up. I mean, the story bits aren't too interesting until later on. Pretty much as soon as we get to the Dark One stuff, that stuff is good. I'm not completely interested in like the old Erdwin and Serenica thing. I'm saying it right this time, Serenica. But I thought that storyline was fine or whatever. I just don't know what it means to the greater scheme of things. I still am very confused about where this game takes place in terms of things. But because I was for sure that Erdwin was going to be Erdrick or something. Or is it going to be his father, Ortega or something? Isn't his name Ortega? I thought his name was Ortega. I don't know. In Dragon Quest 3? I don't know. But it turns out it's like prior to Dragon Quest 3, because it's like your Erdrick or something. Like, that's the title you get at the end of the game. It doesn't make any sense. I don't understand that at all. But then you see like that you're like just part of a storybook or something. That made so little sense. I don't understand that. That's like the ending somehow. I mean, it was fine. It was a decent ending, but whatever. What was I talking about? So, But yeah, I mean, you once you start doing the stuff to like go and face the Dark One or whatever, I thought that was pretty alright. Like rebuilding the sword, or do you rebuild the sword? I think you just go take it from Yggdrasil, right? Yeah. The trials. The trials were cool. Wait. Yeah, you just take the sword because that's how the story starts. The trial's really cool, but it's kind of like the old Dracovian trials, a little less intense than that, I would say. But it's just like reused old areas with new twists and stuff, and you fight some of the older bosses, like harder versions of the older bosses at the end of them. And if you can do it in a certain amount of turns, he'll like grant you a wish. So like you can wish for a few things. You have to do this, by the way, to wish for the super sword to go and fight the Dark One. I think, or it's just really hard if you don't do that or whatever. So yeah, so you can wish for the super sword. You can wish for Ugler's Digest, which is like the Playboy of this universe, which I think gets you the extra scene with Rab. You can wish to have Serena's haircut go back to the way it was, because her hair goes back because her whole character arc gets thrown out the window. That's another thing that I hated, is that Serena was such a character and then she's not a character anymore because you saved Veronica, and so now Veronica's the character again, which is fine, I guess, or whatever. Oh god, and then the one moment was so awful right after you beat Mortigan, and Veronica's like, she just starts crying. She's like, I don't know why, but I'm so happy to be here with you guys right now. Like out of nowhere, and Serena's like, Veronica, what's wrong with you? Get a hold of yourself or whatever. By the way, Serena's like the C-3PO of this universe, man. She talks just like C-3PO, like, human cyborg relations. You know, like she's so proper and stuff. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, but she's a good C-3PO. I don't know. I just hated that moment. It's so like, it's supposed to be like, oh look, she's so happy to be with us. She has emotions, but guess what? Her sacrificing herself had more emotions. Oh, it's so dumb. I hate it. I hated that they did that. Anyway, so the trial. You can wish for Serena's haircut to go back to the way it was, which I don't see the point at this point. If she didn't have her character arc, then who cares if her hair is short or not? Just so you can pretend. It's basically so you could pretend like that didn't happen. The whole time jump thing or whatever. It's really dumb. And you can wish, and okay, it's not as well integrated as 5. Obviously 5, the whole story was based around you getting married. But you can wish to get married to somebody. And I thought, oh, this is pretty cool. I like this a lot. This is actually really cool. I watched all of the segments. I thought, now, I got spoiled for this too, way earlier on. Just like Hendrik, I got spoiled for this somehow. In a guide or something, it said something about marriage, and I'm like, fuck! Like, I figured out about this. So I was just kind of anticipating it the whole game. And then when I finally got there and I could get married, I'm like, oh, shoot. Okay, at this point, now that they ruined Serena's character by making her not have a character or whatever, I obviously went for Jade, because I love Jade. She's great. She's my other favorite character. But I will say, Serena was like the Yukiko of this universe, where they wanted the main hero to get together with her very clearly, or whatever. They should have gave her more personality if they were going to do that. I mean, they did, but then they cut that out of the timeline. But anyway, my point is that, yeah, so I watched all the cutscenes, and surely the whole time I'm thinking, like, okay, who are you going to be able to get married to? You know, all the main characters. So I'm like, okay, well, what about Veronica? They're not going to let you do that, right? Like, they're not going to let that be a thing. Like, that's kind of odd. Even though she is older. She's as old as Serena is. That's the whole thing. But it's like, she's the lolly character. They're not going to, like, let that happen. They did. They let that happen. I'm like, oh, shit. Like, that could have been a thing that I could have chose. It's just strange. It's so strange to me. But yeah, it's really weird. Anyway, so, yeah. So I thought surely they weren't going to do that. But no, you could, like, pretty much do that with anybody. And they kind of imply with the male characters, it's like you're, like, really close, or, like, it's a special bond or something to that effect, you know. Even Hendrik is, like you have a sword duel, and he's like, sometimes swords say more than words would, or whatever. And I'm like, okay, that adds a lot to his character. So, like, if you guys want to gay ship the main hero and Hendrik, I mean, I'm okay with that. But my OTP is Jade and the hero, because I think Jade's, like, the best character. I don't know. I just really loved her, and I loved her storyline. I loved her design. Serena's usually, like, the girl I would have gone for. Like, in Dragon Quest 5, I definitely went for... What's her face? I don't remember her name, but it's not Bianca. It's the other girl. Is her name, like, Serena or something? It might be. Did they double do that? I'm gonna look that up, actually. But, I definitely went for blue hair girl in Dragon Quest 5, which is really cool. She was a great character, because she was, like, the magic user or whatever. But yeah, Jade's more of, like, the Bianca kind of character or something. My point is, it was pretty cool how you could get married to any of them, and they kind of even implied the gay marriages, which is pretty cool. Nira, that's her name, and Deborah, which I never did her. I mean, I only played the game through once. Oh, there goes the music. Oh, well. I only played the game through once, but that was, you know, that was my choice. If I was going to play it again, I'd probably choose Bianca. Maybe Deborah. I don't know. I have to play that game through again sometime. It'll be a lot of fun. But anyway, point is, you can get married. That's pretty cool. You get a little short scene, and they'll be at your house and stuff. It's nothing too big, but it would have been nice if it had been more integrated in the story. But it's like Persona 4, where you can be somebody's girl, you know, you're the boyfriend to somebody, I mean, but you can get somebody to be your girlfriend and that it doesn't really affect the story at all. You run around the town. Oh, rebuilding cobblestone was pretty cool. I thought that was a really cool um, side option at the end of the game there. So, but I mean, okay, so this is my point. I don't think it really mattered that Gemma and the your mom character died in the alternate timeline because what the fuck? Who cares? If you're gonna do the post game, you know, different timeline thing anyway, they're gonna be alive again. Okay, or whatever. Like, right? Like, kind of. Is that how that works? No, it wouldn't have worked that way. Anyway, that's why they didn't kill him. So then they could just save everyone at the end. That's stupid. They didn't really serve any point though in any of the stories. Point being, you can marry people. That's pretty cool. I think there's like one other thing you can wish for, like maybe some gear or something. I don't know. That's usually how that works. It's like the Dragovian trials. So the final boss was actually the Dark One. He was like the boss that Erdwin and Serenica and them fought in the past. And it's pretty cool. They kind of allude to it a little bit in the main story and never really resolve it. I didn't really think much of that in the main story, so I didn't really know what was going on with that, but whatever. So it's pretty cool that they went that direction. And then the Dark One was a really cool end boss. He was really tough. And then I figured out that you can use the Super Sword of Light, and so you use that. What's the whole thing? The Sword of Darkness? You get like the Sword of Darkness after you defeat Morrigan, and then it just kind of goes away. I don't even remember what they did with that. But anyway. Um, I think that's how you destroy the thing, right? Was it the Sword of Darkness, and you like just can't bring it with you for some reason? I don't know. I don't care. It's really dumb. The whole time travel thing was really dumb. It was really badly implemented. I mean, it could have been better somehow, but I don't know. Point is, the Dark One, Klasmos, that's his name. Klasmos, right? Or whatever. It was pretty cool once he figured out that you could use the sword to like lower his main like armor and whatever. I thought that was really cool. I think it takes down his attack or something too, but it makes it a much more manageable fight. The uh, the post game Klasmos fight too, the other Klasmos fight was pretty cool because once you complete Tickington, um, this is all Switch content by the way. Once you complete Tickington, you go through a boss rush of like older bosses, like from a few from the older games, and then a few um, from this game. And I never went back and did the one trial because the third trial and one of the bosses in the Tickington thing have this really annoying way of like putting you to sleep, and then the other one turns you to gold or whatever. And that's what some of the bosses in the game did, but it's like, God, it was so annoying. So, but luckily I made it past that somehow. Some of the bosses are really tough in there. If you're looking for a challenge, that's definitely your area. You're probably gonna have to grind to 99 just to make it do the farming and whatnot on the metal slimes. But point is, then you can refight Kalasmos in a harder form, and I thought that was a really cool like final end boss. And then the super secret final end boss, which is just Morrigan again in like gold, was like really hard. Each of his heads has like 20,000 damage you have to do to it, and you have to like pretty much, if you want to win, you have to use like your pep up powers and then use the barrier thing and then start magic bursting him or just like, you know, do a bunch of damage to him in the meantime. It's like really kind of hard to do. I saw a guy do it. I tried to do it for hours and I really just don't care enough to do it myself. That's the only thing in the game I didn't really beat. Oh hey, I thought it was cool how they had quests now in the game. I don't know, most of them were just like fetch quests or build this thing for me or whatever, but that's cool. I like that, how they had that. That was cool. Tickington was very cool. I think this is like pretty much the last thing I haven't talked about is Tickington. Bunch of legacy content. You kind of insert yourself into moments in the older games, and all of it's in the same 16-bit art style as the 2D mode of the game. So like none of it actually looks like the older games. I mean, it all looks like the older games, and especially like the ones that were 16-bit look like the older games, but it all looks in the new style. It's pretty cool. A lot of familiar faces you get to see. You get to see all the old characters and stuff, and I just thought it was really neat how they did that. So yeah, I mean, Ticking Tim is cool. Basically, so and the spoilers here, I guess. I don't know. Dragon Quest 11 is a really great game. I really enjoyed it. I think it's probably like the third best Dragon Quest game. To me, I put this as a. Well, let me just say this. Okay, so the music's really good. They have a few new tracks that are great. Like one of them kind of annoyed me, but whatever. The story is pretty good. It's a little bit hit and miss in places. Some of the main beats of the story kind of the main beats are great, but there's little things in the story that bug the shit out of me. Um, and I thought the gameplay was very well done. The only thing I can complain about there is the overworld is a little bare, but it's whatever. They needed that to put all the enemies in there and stuff. I just kind of wish that it would have felt a little more interesting or whatever. Um, I didn't like, let's just say, the placement of the ultimate key. I talked about that in the spoiler section, but we'll just leave it at that. I didn't like that. I was kind of hoping to get that, sooner. And the characters are really good for the most part. I loved all their stories. I thought they all were good. They're all well done. So that's really cool. I talked about the gameplay. Everything on it was pretty good. There's some little nitpicks that I had, and a few like flaws that the game would have. Um, but overall, I think it's a really solid game. If you're interested in Dragon Quest, I would definitely play it because it's really good. So, but I should get this out of the way. But anyway, yeah, I definitely recommend it. It's like my third favorite, probably Dragon Quest game behind 5 and 8. 8 is probably my favorite still. Uh, and it could even maybe be over 5. I don't know. I haven't played 5 in too long, but I remember it being one of the better ones. So, but the Switch version, yeah, it's got the Tickington stuff. That's cool. It's got a few extra little things like that, some extra costumes and stuff. So if you're into that, maybe get that one. If not, the PS4 version looks a little sharper, and I mean, it's about the same overall, I'd say. I mean, you're missing out on some good post-game content, but that's about it. Yeah, I like the game overall. I think that um, oh, I was gonna say, here's my metaphor for this game. It is the Persona 5 of Dragon Quest games, whereas 8 would be the Persona 4 of Dragon Quest games. It's clearly the best game. Well, I mean, if you play it first, I would say it's the more well-rounded game. It's the more focused game. It's just more. Uh, it's it's more dense, less quantity. Quantity is Dragon Quest 11, whereas 8 is density. So, um, yeah, in that comparison, this is the Persona 5 of Dragon Quest games, whereas this is the big flashy game that everyone will probably get into and love more than Persona 4, which, in my opinion, is the more superior game, and it has more emotional moments and more emotional beats and better gameplay in a sense. I know that Five's gameplay was really good, but I just prefer some of the style things from Persona 4. This isn't a Persona review. That's what I'm saying here. You're always gonna have your favorite, but for me, it was definitely both of the PS2 games in those series. But anyway, that was my comparison there. It feels like the Persona 5 of this series, whereas people are saying it's like the best one, but there'll always be the more classic one. But it is really good, though. I'd give it like, I'm gonna say like a 9.3 or something. Maybe like a 9.5. I don't know. Fuck it. Like a 9.5 is probably accurate. It's really good. It's really good. It's definitely within the 9 range, somewhere like a middle to high 9 or something. So, yeah, I wholly recommend it. Hopefully you didn't watch the whole video. Hopefully you just scrolled to the end for the spoiler stuff. But I would argue it's still worth experiencing, probably even if I spoiled it for you. But I don't know, because the game is still really good. It's like a 90 hours to finish the whole thing, like maybe 50 hours to get through the initial game. You're probably gonna. So here's my recommendation. You probably are gonna want to play the post game. I don't necessarily agree with the beginning of the post game, but you definitely will want to play it to get to the final boss because there's some good content in there, I would say. Um, but yeah, I recommend the game. I'd definitely say get it if you can, on whatever platform. Switch version's technically better, but like also it's a little less sharp, so it's just up to you which version you want to play. And if you care about the post game content, I mean, otherwise the Switch Tickington is pretty cool though. I would say the Switch version's worth it. Um, Although I don't know how much the regular version is anymore. It's probably a lot less now. So just pick up what you can. It's a great game. Play it. I love Dragon Quest. I love the series. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say, and I'm tired. And I think that's good. I think that's the end. I think that'll work. This has been JZ. This has been JZNES. Staying keep it classic. Stick around for more reviews, underrated games, and I'll see you in the next one. JZ out.